Hey there, friends. This is Saturday, March 7th, 2020, and I've got my split screen format here, sort of looking at the main point of this, which is going to be a quick look at a Jupyter lab, a studio, a work in progress. You could say this is a workshop. Welcome to my workshop. And then I participate, civic engagement, and here I'm like trying to recruit Tulsi's team into helping out with Truckers for Peace, which is what I call T4P, and I've got this T4P mixed with Medium. I've got this mix on Medium about T4P and GST, right? Things we've talked about many times on this channel already. Familiar themes. So then the main point here is I've been working in Jupyter Lab on a Jupyter Notebook doing something you will maybe have seen already in the context of this channel, this YouTube channel. Do you know what that is, right? So that if you do, then you've probably seen some of my lattice gallery videos. That was the pop-up gallery. This is the schematic of the same idea, right? This is the real world implementation in the form of plastic injection molds, and these are like springy, right? And it's kind of a camo color or color scheme. It looks kind of foresty, kind of like it's an Oregonian kind of color scheme in a way, kind of foresty, like I say. Now this is more just kind of shocking colors, but actually I've used cyan consistently for the icosahedron for a long time, so I'm more or less being consistent with a palette that I use in-house. My cube is normally green. And I can resize and translate these. There's no rotation in this universe or namespace, but I can translate things around and thereby create lattices and so forth. And I can also scale things. I can make them bigger or smaller. And just in the context of this Jupyter Notebook, by the time you've gone through the whole thing, you have all the Python code you need, right? I'm saying I don't really rely on standard libraries even, hardly. There's very little that I import to get this to work, but I'm using a whole nother open source tool called POVray. I've been using it for years for just this purpose. I write my framework entirely in Python here with the polyhedron as my superclass, and that's where scaling, resizing basically without rotating, and translating also without rotating, just moving it around laterally, up, down, left, right, any direction, slantwise, but you don't rotate the shape, right? Those are implemented at the polyhedron level, which is not really designed to be used directly. You subclass it, and then you inherit these powers to move around and so forth. It also, during initialization, needs to distill out what its own edges are based on the faces. So when I actually subclass a polyhedron, I use some global variables. This is kind of strange, but A through Z, 26 letters, just happen to map a space I can really use. It's called a concentric hierarchy, and I need some extra anchor points for fivefold symmetry. So I've got some computations with phi to get an additional at least 12 more points, which can then serve as a basis for some things I don't implement here. For example, here's a tetrahedron. I won't have a pentagonal dodecahedron in this version. I only have the cube, tetrahedron, octahedron, rhombic dodecahedron, and later the icosahedron and cuboctahedron. The icosahedron, there's the points A through Z. You'll see this on Wikipedia under the quadrate coordinates. It's the same A through Z. And so internally, when I define a polyhedron, I use the lowercase a through z. It's customary in geometry to label points, even with letters. So to carry that over into this computer code context, it doesn't seem too weird, and it's just useful as a data structure. This is not hooked to any database in the back end. It could be, and I think I'm going in that direction. I've done that kind of work already. This is kind of an iteration through something that I consider sort of hallmark, trademark, what we do in our School of Tomorrow context. That picture is, I was testing some orange, trying to get my colors right. I don't think that's going to be in the uploaded version. So once I've done all these experiments and got the renderings working, then I go to GitHub, I go to my terminal, and I add these changes to GitHub and git push, and that's where you get the balance, or the global version, the version that's world readable. That's where you get that part of it. Okay, so that's the workflow that anyone can use it, and that's not special to me. I'm saying this is just our usual, what we call homework, right? This is doing homework. Looks like this. There are other ways to do homework, but this is one of them, as you already know. All right, so we'll talk to you soon.